Hey, this is Rob from Slashcam. Welcome to our first-hand shooting experience with the new Panasonic S1R2. We have been shooting a lot with the new Panasonic the last couple of days, and in this video we will be covering ergonomics and the modified body design, new integrated tools for video use, we will have a look at the improved stabilization, at rolling shutter, and we will be comparing the dynamic range of the S1R2 to the Canon C70, the Arri Alexa LF and the Nikon Z8, with and without dynamic range boost enabled, and much more. What really makes the Panasonic S1R2 shine is its well thought out and rounded functionality for video use. After shooting with the S1R2, we consider the Panasonic S1R2, at least for the time being, as having the best overall design and functionality for video shooting of all current hybrid cameras, closely followed by the Canon EOS R5C. But this does not mean that there's no room for improvement, and we will be sharing our thoughts as well what features we would love to see in an even more video-centered Panasonic S1H2. Now, the centerpiece of the new Panasonic S1R2 is its backside illuminated 44 megapixel full-frame CMOS sensor in a 3:2 format, which for the first time for Panasonic DSLMs offers internal 10-bit 8K recording. Thanks to the full implementation of Panasonic's V-Log, including real-time LUT functions, it also delivers a surprisingly high dynamic range, which we will cover more in depth a little further on. Also available for the first time in the Lumix full-frame lineup is internal RAW recording, until now only offered by the GH7. The Panasonic S1R2 uses Apple ProRes RAW, which can record up to 5.8K at a maximum of 30p onto a CF Express card. Alternatively, you can also record 10-bit ProRes 422HQ at max 60p in 4K Cine internally. Speaking of video formats and sensor readout modes, let's have a look at the multitude of readouts that the Panasonic S1R2 offers. When we look at the full-frame sensor readouts, we see that one of the most requested features among Panasonic video users, the 4K 10-bit 50-60p full-frame readout, is on board the Panasonic S1R2. Keep in mind though that there's a slight vertical crop similar to Sony's A7S III in 50-60p modes, but this crop is really minimal compared to the previous Super 35 crop readouts. In our opinion, Panasonic has delivered well in this regard. That said, the S1R2 goes even further with internal 4K 10-bit ProRes 422HQ 50p full-frame recording and 5.9K 10-bit H.265 50p recording. Also worth mentioning in this context is the optional shutter angle function of the S1R2, which we greatly appreciate for its ease of use when switching between 50p and 25p formats. Up to 3.5 gigabit per second of video data needs to be written when recording at a maximum of 5.8K ProRes RAW HQ. To accommodate for this, Panasonic has equipped the S1R2 with a CF Express card slot in addition to the SD card. Our opinion on mixed dual card slots has become somewhat divided. On the one hand, many users still have a large number of SD cards, which are slightly more fragile than CF Express cards, but can continue to be used sustainably. They also offer a more convenient workflow on set, especially when working with a laptop that has a built-in SD card reader. On the other hand, high-quality fast SD cards have become more expensive than CF Express cards, and an internal backup of high-quality formats would only be possible with dual CF Express slots. If Panasonic is planning an S1H2, we would definitely like to see dual CF Express card slots. We believe the time has come to leave SD cards behind in professional environments. Open gate recording has been a strong emphasis on Panasonic in the past, and accordingly the Panasonic S1R2 also offers some quite impressive open gate modes that are pretty helpful for both anamorphic applications and social media productions. Thanks to its 10-bit 6.4K 3:2 open gate recording, a single take can output 3:2 open gate, 16:9, 1:1 and 9:16 without additional scaling. This makes the Panasonic S1R2 very flexible, since you can crop and deliver in multiple aspect ratios when using maximum sensor readout and corresponding resolutions. The 3:2 open gate features are further enhanced by a comprehensive anamorphic support, which offers Desqueeze previews for 1.3, 1.33, 1.5, 1.8 and 2x anamorphic formats. Additionally, Panasonic has announced that there will also be coming a full 8.1K open gate sensor readout via firmware update, which will provide even more horizontal resolution. Speaking of comprehensive video functions, the Panasonic S1R2 for the first time features false color. And right from the start, it comes with a pretty well executed implementation. And here's why. Firstly, the false color function can be easily assigned to one of the 16 function buttons of the S1R2. Just by pressing one button a little longer, you are able to choose a shortcut function for the specific button. Secondly, false color is available for all picture profiles, whether a LUT is applied as a viewing aid or not. While we didn't have time to check exactly how the false color function is calibrated for each specific picture profile, it worked flawlessly in our vlog recordings. Both the Panasonic S1H and the GH7 already featured an ergonomically well thought out monitor designed for video use. The Panasonic S1R2 takes this concept a step further by introducing a newly designed swivel and tilt monitor, offering the most versatile monitor mount for video users, similar to what we've seen in the Sony A9 III. With this new monitor mount, Panasonic solves multiple issues at once. First, the variable distance from the rear body ensures that all in-out ports on the left side of the camera, which is mic-in, headphone, USB-C and the full-size HDMI, remain fully accessible regardless of how far the monitor is tilted. And additionally, the design allows for extreme high and low angle shots that were previously impossible with the built-in monitor. At present, we consider this the best monitor design for both video users and photographers alike. However, when it comes to monitoring, Panasonic has missed one opportunity for an update. While the S1R2 does feature a full-size HDMI port, the external status displays when using an external monitor remain tiny. As seen in other manufacturers' cameras, we would appreciate larger status information on external monitors and as well an even more reduced latency. The Panasonic S1R2 also introduces 3 small but important details that provide key features for video users. A new mode switch, tele lights and a new sensor protection function. With a new mode switch located on the upper left side of the body, the entire camera can be switched more quickly between video and photo mode. This makes the S1R2 a true hybrid tool, as the mode also changes all customizable buttons and the menu to match the selected operating mode. Professionals will appreciate the implementation of various tele lamps and status lights on the Panasonic S1R2. It features a total of 3 individually adjustable lights, a front and a rear recording light, as well as a card access light. With the new optional sensor protection function, the shutter closes over the sensor to prevent dust, water and other elements from reaching it. We conducted as well our classic non-stop recording test with the Panasonic S1R2 using 4K 10-bit Vlog 25p recording with autofocus enabled. At normal room temperature and with a fully charged battery, we achieved a runtime of 1 hour and 39 minutes. This is slightly above our expectations for a 44 megapixel full-frame sensor. The S1R2 also supports USB-C charging during recording. For extended run times, we recommend using a rig with an external USB-C V-mount battery or power bank. We advise some caution for longer, non-stop recordings with dynamic range boost enabled though. In our test, we experienced a recording stop due to overheating after 40 minutes, which we did not have with dynamic range boost disabled. One area where Panasonic has claimed the leading role for quite some time now is stabilization. According to Panasonic, the maximum stabilization has increased from 7.5 stops to 8 stops. While this may not sound like a massive leap on paper, our practical test revealed an extremely powerful stabilization system, enhanced even further by the camera's 8K resolution. We achieved the best stabilization performance while walking using the OES-equipped Lumix S24-105 with electronic stabilization on camera set to high. At this point, we are approaching gimbal-like smoothness with only the occasional minor background jitter. Our test footage with Janina shows that on a 4K timeline there's no visible loss of resolution with a high mode compared to standard stabilization despite the additional crop. For us, this is currently one of the best, if not the best, stabilization option on the market. We filmed with Janina using various picture profiles, including the new cinema-like A2 as well as the 10-bit Vlog. Panasonic's Vlog gamma is well established alongside Canon Log, S-Log, Arri Log and others. One thing we consistently notice about Vlog is how robust it performs in post-production and how neutrally it translates to Rec 709 when using the Panasonic V709 LUT. These qualities make Vlog an excellent foundation for in-depth color grading, especially for those who frequently work with a variety of different looks. A notable new addition to the picture profiles is the cinema-like A2 profile, which corrects Panasonic typical magenta tint in Rec 709-like profiles, resulting in a more neutral base. Now let's have a look at our rolling shutter values. In general, there are 3 different readout methods used depending on the recording format. The full 1:1 sensor readout in 8K takes approximately 22.8 milliseconds and is limited to 24 to 30p. The 6K readout, which covers almost the full sensor width at 5760 x 3040 pixels, supports frame rates up to 60p and has a readout time of 15.6 milliseconds. At 100 to 120p, the readout time further decreases to 7.4 milliseconds. In addition to the 1:1 readout formats, the camera also offers various 6K, 4K modes via downsampling or line skipping, and in these modes we observed the same rolling shutter times as their corresponding native readout formats. Now let's move on to our comparative dynamic range tests. For this comparison, we were particularly curious about the dynamic range expansion feature promoted by Panasonic. We expected a function similar to the dynamic boost found in the GH6 and GH7, which significantly increases dynamic range in the Micro Four Thirds segment. However, in our tests, we couldn't detect any visible difference between recordings with and without dynamic range expansion enabled. We tested various formats and worked with the final firmware version 1.0. The only measurable impact was an increase in rolling shutter times when the expansion mode was activated. Additionally, the base ISO shifts by one stop, meaning the clipping point, mid-gray, and black levels are positioned differently depending on the mode. Across the entire range from clipping to noise floor, we did not observe a noticeable improvement in usable dynamic range, unlike the clear benefit of dynamic boost in the GH6 and GH7. This leaves open the possibility that a future firmware update could introduce a more advanced dynamic range expansion feature. However, even without such an update, the S1R2 performance impressed us. We compared the S1R2 to 3 advanced cameras. The Canon C70, though it features only a Super 35 sensor, it is considered one of the best sub-5000 cameras for dynamic range. The Arri Alexa LF, the industry's gold standard for dynamic range in professional cinematic productions. And the Nikon Z8, a high-performance, full-frame mirrorless camera with 8K RAW recording, priced slightly above the S1R2. As we can clearly see, the Panasonic S1R2 delivers the best video dynamic range of any hybrid mirrorless camera to date, placing it in our tests results between the Arri LF and the Canon C70. We conducted the test in 8K with 10-bit H.265. However, with the future firmware update, external 8K RAW recording is expected to become possible, which should further improve compression artifacts in the noise, offering an even better result in low-light performance and dynamic range. Which brings us to our conclusion. With the Panasonic S1R2, Panasonic delivers a surprisingly high-end video tool. Surprising because many of these features were initially expected in a potential S1H2 rather than the S1R2. Among its impressive video capabilities are internal ProRes RAW recording, false color, 32-bit audio recording with an XLR adapter, internal 8.1K recording, internal ProRes HQ422 recording including 4K full sensor 50p, telelights, open gate recording, comprehensive anamorphic support and multi-aspect ratio recording in 10-bit 6.4K. And on top of that, the S1R2 offers excellent video stabilization, high dynamic range, improved mode functions, and Panasonic's robust V-Log gamma. With this feature set, the S1R2 checks off the wishlist for many S5, S5 II, and S5 IIX users. Panasonic has never before had such a powerful hybrid camera for both video and photography in its lineup. That said, we still see room for a future S1H2. Potential upgrades could include 10-bit 8K 50p recording, illuminated buttons, larger external info displays via HDMI, dual CF Express slots, improved heat management, and a built-in ND filter. For those that don't require these additional features, the Panasonic S1R2 represents the best video-oriented mirrorless camera in terms of handling and a pretty capable video tool, especially with regard to its price-performance ratio. Which brings us to the end of our Panasonic S1R2 review. If you found this review helpful, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel.